Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English in Fluency, the place where your listening skills grow stronger every single day. I am Alex, and I am so happy you are here with me right now. Today we have a very special and highly requested lesson for you. We are going to dive deep into the world of complaints and apologies. Have you ever felt frustrated because you wanted to complain about a problem, but you didn't know the right words to use in English? Have you ever made a mistake and needed to say sorry, but a simple sorry just didn't feel like enough? If you answered yes to either of those questions, then this video is exactly what you need. We are going to follow real-life situations, listen to detailed conversations, and I will explain every single phrase so you can understand clearly. This is B1 level practice, which means we will use natural, everyday English that is easy to follow, but also very useful for your future. So, before we start, I want you to do one thing for me. Please make sure you are in a quiet place. Maybe grab a cup of tea or coffee, and get ready to listen carefully, because we have a long journey ahead of us today. Let's begin by imagining a situation. You are sitting in a nice restaurant. The lights are low, the music is soft, and you are very hungry. You ordered your favorite meal 30 minutes ago, but your table is still empty. You see waiters walking past you, but no one looks at you. How do you feel? You probably feel a little annoyed, maybe even angry. In your native language, you would know exactly how to call the waiter and express your dissatisfaction politely. But in English, you might hesitate. You might worry about being rude. Today, we will learn how to handle this perfectly. To help us understand this, let's listen to a conversation between two characters named Brian and Sarah. They are a married couple, and they are currently sitting in that exact restaurant I just described. They are hungry, and they are waiting for their food. Listen closely to how Brian feels and what he wants to do. Brian puts his fork down on the table, even though he has no food to eat. He looks at his watch and sighs loudly. He says to Sarah, "I don't believe this. We have been sitting here for 40 minutes, and the waiter hasn't even brought us our drinks yet." Sarah tries to calm him down. She touches his arm gently and says, "I know, Brian. It is taking a long time. But look, the restaurant is very busy tonight. Maybe we should just wait a few more minutes." Brian shakes his head. He is not happy with that answer. He replies, "No, Sarah. This is not right. We had a reservation for 7 o'clock. It is now 7:45. I am going to call the manager over here. This is simply not acceptable service." Did you hear the emotion in Brian's voice? He used some strong words there. He said, "I don't believe this." This is a very common phrase in English when we are frustrated or shocked by a bad situation. It doesn't mean he literally does not believe it. It means he is disappointed. He also used the phrase, "not acceptable." This is a key phrase for making a formal complaint. When you say something is not acceptable, you are saying that it does not meet the standard you expected. It is a polite but firm way to show you are unhappy. Now, let's continue listening. Brian calls the manager, a man named Mr. Thompson, over to the table. Pay attention to how Brian complains. Notice that he does not scream or use bad words. He stays calm but firm. Mr. Thompson walks over to the table with a nervous smile on his face. He asks, "Good evening, sir. Is everything all right with your table tonight?" Brian looks Mr. Thompson directly in the eyes. He says, "Actually, no. Everything is not all right. We have been waiting for 40 minutes for our drinks, and we haven't even seen our waiter in 20 minutes. This wait time is completely unacceptable, especially since we had a reservation." Mr. Thompson immediately looks sorry. He nods his head and says, "I sincerely apologize for the delay, sir. We are short-staffed tonight, and the kitchen is moving slower than usual. Please, let me check on your order immediately and bring you some complimentary drinks while you wait." This was a perfect example of how a complaint and an apology work in real life. Let's break down what just happened. First, Brian used the phrase, "actually, no." This is a soft way to introduce a negative answer. If the manager asks, "Is everything okay?" and you just say, "No," it can sound a bit rude. But adding "actually" makes it sound more natural and polite. Brian then stated the facts clearly. He didn't just say, "The service is bad." He explained why. He said, "We have been waiting for 40 minutes, and we haven't seen our waiter." When you complain, giving facts is very important. It helps the other person understand exactly what the problem is. Now, let's look at Mr. Thompson's apology. He used the phrase, "I sincerely apologize." This is stronger than just saying sorry. When you say sincerely apologize, you are showing that you really mean it. He also gave a reason for the problem without making an excuse. He said, "We are short-staffed." This means they did not have enough workers that night. He didn't blame Brian, he explained the situation. Finally, he offered a solution. He said he would check the order and bring complimentary drinks. Complimentary means free. This is a very important part of an apology in a business situation. A good apology usually has 3 parts: acknowledgement, explanation, and solution. Mr. Thompson acknowledged the problem, explained why it happened, and offered a solution to fix it. Let's practice this structure a little bit. Imagine you are in a hotel, and the air conditioner in your room is broken. It is very hot. You go to the front desk. The receptionist asks, "How can I help you?" I want you to think about how you would complain using the structure we just learned. First, state the problem. You might say, "I have a problem with my room." Then, give the facts. The air conditioner is not working, and the temperature is very high. Finally, say how you feel or what you want. "It is impossible to sleep in there. I need someone to fix it immediately." Now, imagine the receptionist's apology. She might say, "I am terribly sorry to hear that. Our maintenance team is on break, but I will send someone up right now. Would you like to wait in our lounge with a free drink while we fix it?" Okay, let's move on to a different situation. This time, we are going to look at a workplace scenario. Complaining to a friend is one thing, but complaining to a colleague or a boss requires a very different tone. You need to be professional. You cannot show too much anger. Our characters for this story are Linda and Michael. Linda is a team leader, and Michael is her employee. Michael was supposed to finish an important report by Friday morning. It is now Friday afternoon, and Linda still does not have the report. Listen to how Linda handles this. Notice that she doesn't yell. She uses professional language to express her disappointment. Linda knocks on Michael's office door and walks in. Michael is typing on his computer, looking stressed. Linda stands by his desk and says, "Michael, do you have a moment?" Michael looks up, looking a bit scared. He says, "Yes, Linda. What is it?" Linda takes a deep breath. She says, "I wanted to talk to you about the quarterly report. It was due on my desk by 10 o'clock this morning. It is now 2 o'clock, and I still haven't received it. This is a problem because I have a meeting with the directors in 1 hour, and I don't have the data I need. Michael's face turns red. He knows he made a mistake. He says, "Oh, Linda, I am so sorry. I completely lost track of time. I thought it was due on Monday." Linda shakes her head. She says, "Michael, I explicitly said the deadline was Friday during our meeting on Tuesday. I am disappointed that the deadline was missed, especially without any communication from you." Wow, that was a bit tense, wasn't it? Linda was very professional, but very clear. Let's analyze her language. She started by asking for a moment. This is polite. Then she stated the expectation and the failure. She said, "It was due, and I still haven't received it." She didn't say, "You are lazy," or "You are bad at your job." She focused on the work, not the person. This is a key strategy for professional complaints. It is called being objective. She also used the phrase, "I am disappointed." In a work setting, telling someone you are disappointed is often more powerful than yelling. It shows that they have lost your trust or respect. Now, let's look at Michael's response. Was his apology good? He said, "I am so sorry. I completely lost track of time." This is an honest apology, but it might not be enough for Linda. Why? Because he didn't have a good reason, and he didn't offer a solution immediately. He just made an excuse. In a professional setting, a better apology would have been to take full responsibility and offer a plan. Let's imagine a better version. Michael could have said, "Linda, I sincerely apologize for this oversight. There is no excuse for missing the deadline. I am prioritizing this report right now, and I will have it emailed to you within 30 minutes. I understand this puts you in a difficult position, and I am ready to stay late to help you prepare for your meeting." See the difference? This apology shows that he understands the consequences of his actions and is ready to fix them. So, here is a tip for all of you listening. When you apologize in a formal situation, try to use the 3 A's. The first A is admit. Admit your mistake clearly. Say, "I made a mistake," or "I missed the deadline." Don't try to hide it. The second A is apologize. Say, "I apologize," or "I am sorry." The third A is amend. This means to fix it. Tell the person how you will solve the problem. If you follow this structure, your apology will sound much more sincere and professional. Now, let's change the scene again. We are going to move away from the workplace and go to a more casual setting. We are going to a housewarming party. Our characters are 2 friends, Jessica and Tom. Tom borrowed Jessica's camera last weekend to take photos at a wedding. They are meeting at the party. Jessica wants her camera back, but there is a problem. Listen to how Tom breaks the bad news. This is a situation where you have to apologize for damaging someone's property. It is very awkward and difficult. Jessica sees Tom standing by the snacks. She walks over with a big smile. She says, "Hey, Tom, great party, right? By the way, do you have my camera? I need it for my trip next week." Tom stops eating his chips. He looks down at the floor. He looks very uncomfortable. He says, "Oh, Jessica, I'm really glad you brought that up." Jessica looks confused. She says, "Why? What happened?" Tom sighs. He says, "I have some bad news. I was at the wedding, and someone spilled a drink on the table where I put the camera. I didn't notice it right away. When I picked it up, the lens was foggy. I think some liquid got inside. I tried to turn it on, but it won't work. I am so sorry, Jessica. I feel terrible about it." Jessica is shocked. She takes a deep breath. She is clearly upset. She says, "Oh my God, that camera was expensive, Tom, and it was a gift from my dad." Tom nods quickly. He knows he is in trouble. He says, I know. It was my fault for leaving it on the table. I should have been more careful. Please let me pay for the repairs. Or, if it can't be fixed, I will buy you a new one. I promise I will make this right." Jessica looks at him for a moment. She can see he is truly sorry. She says, "Okay, Tom, I appreciate you telling me the truth. I am really upset, but I know you didn't do it on purpose. Let's take it to the repair shop tomorrow and see what they say. But please, be more careful in the future." This was a great example of an apology between friends. Tom did several things right. First, he didn't lie. He told the truth immediately. He said, "I have some bad news." This prepares the listener for something negative. He explained exactly what happened. He didn't try to blame the person who spilled the drink too much. He accepted that it was his responsibility because it was in his care. He used phrases like "I feel terrible" and "it was my fault." These phrases show emotional regret. Then, just like in the professional example, he offered a solution. He offered to pay for repairs or buy a new one. Jessica's reaction was also interesting. She was upset, but she accepted the apology. Why? Because Tom was sincere and offered to fix it. She used the phrase, "I appreciate you telling me the truth." This is a good phrase to use when someone admits a mistake. It encourages honesty. She also set a boundary. She said, "Please be more careful in the future." When someone apologizes to you, it is okay to ask them to do better next time. Let's pause here for a quick listening comprehension check. I want you to think about the 3 situations we have discussed so far. We had the restaurant, the office, and the friend with the camera. In which situation was the complaint the most formal? If you thought the office, you are correct. The language there was more structured and focused on business outcomes. In which situation was the apology most? About replacing an item? That was the camera situation with Tom and Jessica. And in which situation did the person complaining receive a complimentary item? That was the restaurant. If you understood all of that, you are doing a fantastic job. Now, I want to take you to a slightly more difficult situation. Sometimes, we have to complain about something that isn't just a mistake, but something that is unfair or against the rules. Let's imagine you live in an apartment building. Your neighbor, a man named Mr. Harris, plays his drums late at night. It is midnight, and you cannot sleep. You have asked him once before to stop, but he is still doing it. You have to go and complain again, but this time you might need to be a bit stronger. Let's listen to a conversation between you, the listener, and the neighbor, Mr. Harris. I will play the role of the narrator to set the scene, and then we will hear the dialogue. You put on your slippers and walk across the hall to apartment 4B. You knock on the door loudly. The music stops. After a minute, the door opens. Mr. Harris is standing there holding a drumstick. He looks annoyed. He asks, "Yeah? What do you want?" You stand tall. You say, "Mr. Harris, I hate to be a bother, but it is midnight. I can hear your drums very clearly in my bedroom, and I have to wake up at 6 a.m. for work. This is the second time this week." Mr. Harris rolls his eyes. He says, "Come on, man. I'm just practicing. It's not that loud." You don't accept his excuse. You say, "Actually, it is that loud. The walls in this building are thin. I asked you nicely last time, but the noise is continuing." I really need you to keep the noise down after 10 p.m. If this continues, I will have to speak to the building manager. This conversation is different because the person complaining, you, had to set a boundary. You started politely with, "I hate to be a bother," which is a very nice way to soften a complaint. But when the neighbor, Mr. Harris, dismissed your complaint by saying, "It's not that loud," you had to be firm. You used the phrase, "Actually, it is that loud." This is a way to disagree directly. Then you made a clear request. "I really need you to keep the noise down." Finally, you stated a consequence. You said, "If this continues, I will have to speak to the building manager." Stating a consequence is important when someone refuses to listen to your complaint. It shows you are serious. Now, let's listen to Mr. Harris's reaction. He didn't apologize right away. He was defensive. This often happens. Sometimes, when you complain, the other person might get angry or deny the problem. In this case, you remained calm. Let's see how Mr. Harris responds after you mention the building manager. Mr. Harris looks at you and sees that you are serious. He sighs and puts the drumstick behind his back. He says, all right, fine. I didn't realize it was that late. I got carried away with the rhythm. Sorry for waking you up. I'll stop for tonight." You nod and say, "Thank you, Mr. Harris. I appreciate it. Good night." In the end, Mr. Harris did apologize. He said, "Sorry for waking you up." He used the phrase, "I got carried away." This is a great idiom for English learners. It means you were so involved in an activity that you forgot about everything else, like time or rules. It is a very common way to explain a mistake. I got carried away shopping and spent too much money, or I got carried away talking and missed my bus. You can use this phrase in many situations. We are making great progress. I hope you are enjoying these stories and learning new phrases. Remember, if you are enjoying this lesson, please hit that like button and subscribe to English in Fluency. It really helps us make more free content for you. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss a new video. We have so much more to cover today. Let's switch gears now and talk about written complaints. Sometimes, you cannot speak to someone face-to-face. You might need to write an email to a company or a landlord. Writing a complaint email is a specific skill. You have to be clear, polite, and structured. I want to read you an email written by a woman named Elena. Elena ordered a new sofa from an online store. The sofa arrived, but it was the wrong color. She ordered a blue sofa, but they sent a green one. She is writing an email to the customer service department. Listen to the words she uses in the text. Elena sits at her computer. She takes a deep breath and begins typing. She writes, "Dear customer service team, I am writing to express my dissatisfaction with a recent order I placed on your website. My order number is 54321. On May 12th, I ordered a ocean blue 3-seater sofa. The sofa arrived yesterday, May 20th. However, upon opening the packaging, I discovered that the sofa is forest green, which is not the color I ordered. I have attached a photo of the sofa and a copy of my receipt for your reference. I would like to arrange for this incorrect item to be picked up and for the correct blue sofa to be delivered as soon as possible. I hope to hear from you within 24 hours regarding a resolution. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Sincerely, Elena." This email is a perfect example of a formal written complaint. Let's analyze why. First, she started with a clear subject line. She didn't write, "My sofa is wrong." She would have written something professional like, "Issue with order number 54321, incorrect item received." In the email body, she used formal language. She said, "I am writing to express my dissatisfaction." That sounds much more professional than, "I am angry about my sofa." She included all the necessary details: the order number, the date, and the specific problem. She provided evidence by mentioning the attached photo. Finally, she stated exactly what she wanted: a pickup and a replacement. She set a deadline. "I hope to hear from you within 24 hours. This shows that she is serious and expects a quick response. Now, imagine the customer service team reads this email. They need to write back and apologize. How should they respond? They should match her formal tone. Here is what the company might write back. Dear Elena, we sincerely apologize for the mistake with your order. We understand how frustrating it must be to receive the wrong item, especially for a large purchase like a sofa. This was a shipping error on our part. We have arranged for a delivery team to pick up the green sofa on May 22nd between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. They will also deliver your correct blue sofa at the same time. As a gesture of goodwill, we would like to offer you a 20% refund on your purchase. We value your business and hope this resolves the issue to your satisfaction. Best regards, the furniture team." This is a great apology email. They admitted the mistake immediately. They used the phrase gesture of goodwill. This is a business term that means they are doing something nice to say sorry, like giving money or a discount. They also gave a specific time for the solution, which helps Elena plan her day. This exchange shows how complaints and apologies work in the professional world of emails. Let's move on to a situation that many of you might face if you travel. Dealing with airlines. Imagine you are at the airport. You have just landed after a long flight. You go to the baggage carousel to get your suitcase. You wait and wait. Everyone else has their bags. The carousel stops. Your bag is not there. This is a nightmare situation. You have to go to the lost baggage counter. The character in this story is a young man named David. He is tired and worried. Let's listen to how he handles this stressful moment. David walks up to the counter. The airline employee, a woman named Ms. Chen, is typing on her computer. David says, "Excuse me, Ms. Chen. My flight was BA 405 from London. I just arrived, and my suitcase did not appear on the carousel. I have been waiting for over an hour." Ms. Chen looks up. She looks tired, too. She says, "I see. Do you have your baggage claim tag?" David hands her the small sticker receipt. He says, "Yes, here it is. Inside the suitcase, I have my medication and my work clothes. I really need it as soon as possible." Ms. Chen types for a few moments. She frowns. She says, "I apologize, sir. It seems your bag was not loaded onto the plane in London due to a loading error. It is still at Heathrow Airport." David is upset. He says, "That is unbelievable. I checked in 3 hours early. How can it not be on the plane? I have a meeting tomorrow morning and I have nothing to wear." Ms. Chen nods. She says, "I completely understand your frustration, sir. This is not the service we aim to provide. We will put your bag on the first flight tomorrow morning. It should arrive by 10 a.m. We can deliver it directly to your hotel or home. In the meantime, please fill out this form. We will reimburse you for any essential items you need to buy tonight, like toiletries or a change of clothes. up to a value of $100. David is still annoyed, but he feels a little better because she has a plan. He says, "Okay, delivering it tomorrow morning is fine, but I want to be sure it arrives. Can you email me the tracking information?" Ms. Chen smiles slightly. She says, "Absolutely. We will email you all the details within the hour. Again, I am very sorry for the inconvenience. We will take care of this." In this dialogue, we saw a very detailed apology process. Ms. Chen used a phrase that is very effective. "I completely understand your frustration. When you complain, you want to be heard. You want the other person to validate your feelings. By saying, 'I understand your frustration,' the employee makes David feel like his anger is justified." She also used the word reimburse. This is a key business vocabulary word. It means to pay someone back for money they have spent. "We will reimburse you for the meal. The company reimbursed my travel expenses." It is a very useful word to know. David, on the other hand, showed us how to keep pushing for a solution. He didn't just accept the apology. He wanted confirmation. He asked for email tracking. When you are in a difficult situation, don't be afraid to ask for confirmation. It helps you feel secure. All right, we have covered many different scenarios so far. We have talked about restaurants, offices, borrowing items from friends, noisy neighbors, emails, and lost luggage. That is a lot of listening practice. I want to take a short break from the stories to talk about the cultural side of apologies. In some cultures, people apologize even when they haven't done anything wrong, just to be polite. In other cultures, people only apologize if they are truly at fault. In English-speaking cultures, the word sorry is used very frequently. Sometimes it is used to show empathy, not guilt. For example, if you tell me you failed your driving test, I might say, "Oh, I am so sorry to hear that. I didn't cause you to fail. I am just showing that I care." This is called an expression of sympathy. It is not a confession of guilt. However, in a complaint situation, you need to be careful. If someone spills coffee on you, you shouldn't say sorry unless you want to be very Canadian and apologize for being in the way. Generally, the person who made the mistake should apologize. But if two people bump into each other in the street, both people might say, "Sorry." It is a way to diffuse tension and move on quickly. Let's practice this nuance. I will give you a situation, and I want you to think about who should apologize. Situation 1. A waiter drops a plate of food on a customer's lap. Who apologizes? The waiter, of course. The waiter would say, "I am terribly sorry. Are you okay?" Situation 2. You are walking on the street looking at your phone, and you bump into someone. Who apologizes? You should apologize because you were not looking. You would say, "Excuse me, I'm sorry about that." Situation 3. You and a friend are both reaching for the last piece of pizza at the same time. Your hands touch. Who apologizes? This is a shared awkward moment. Both of you might laugh and say, "Sorry," or "You go first." Understanding when to apologize is just as important as knowing the words to use. It shows emotional intelligence. Now, let's return to our stories. We are going to look at a situation involving a roommate. Living with other people is one of the most common sources of conflict. Our characters are named Zoe and Amy. They share an apartment. Zoe is very clean and organized. Amy is a bit messy. Zoe comes home after a long day and finds the kitchen in a disaster state. There are dirty dishes in the sink, and the trash is overflowing. Zoe needs to complain. but she wants to keep the peace. Listen to how she uses I statements to express her feelings without attacking Amy. Zoe walks into the kitchen and freezes. She puts her bag on the counter. Amy is in the living room watching TV. Zoe walks to the doorway. She says, "Hey, Amy, do you have a minute?" Amy pauses the TV. She says, "Sure, what's up?" Zoe takes a breath. She says, "I wanted to talk about the kitchen. When I came home, I noticed there were a lot of dishes in the sink and the trash was full. I felt really frustrated because I was hoping to cook dinner in a clean kitchen. I know you've been busy, but it makes me feel stressed when the house is this messy. Could we talk about how to keep the kitchen cleaner?" Amy looks around the corner at the kitchen. She looks a bit guilty. She says, "Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was that bad. I made pancakes this morning, and then I had to run to class. I'm sorry I left it like that, Zoe. You're right. It's a mess." Zoe smiles slightly. She says, "Thanks for understanding. I don't want to nag you, but I just need a little help keeping the common areas tidy." Amy stands up. She says, "No, I get it. I'll go clean it up right now. Sorry again for leaving the mess." This was a very mature conversation. Let's look at the technique Zoe used. She used I statements. Instead of saying, "You are messy," or "You never clean up," she said, "I noticed," "I felt," "I need." This is a classic communication strategy. You statements can make people feel attacked and defensive. I statements focus on your own reaction and feelings, which are harder to argue with. Zoe also ended with a question. Could we talk about how to keep the kitchen cleaner? This invites Amy to be part of the solution, rather than just giving her an order. Amy's apology was good too. She didn't make excuses. She admitted she didn't realize it was that bad, but she accepted responsibility. She said, "I'm sorry I left it like that." And importantly, she took immediate action. She stood up to clean it. An apology with action is always the best kind. Let's imagine a slightly different outcome for a moment. What if Amy had been defensive? What if she said, "Well, I've been busy. You clean the kitchen sometimes when I want to use it, but I don't complain." This would have started an argument. In that case, Zoe would have to use her I statements again, and perhaps suggest a chore chart. Dealing with defensive people is hard. The key is to stay calm. If the other person gets loud, you should get quieter. It helps to de-escalate the situation. We are going to shift now to a topic that is very specific. Apologizing for being late. Being late is a very common social infraction. Whether it is for a meeting, a date, or a movie, being late disrupts other people's plans. In English, there are many ways to say you are late, and they depend on how late you are and who you are meeting. Our next story involves a man named Robert. Robert is late for a movie with his date, a woman named Lisa. He is 20 minutes late. This is a significant amount of time for a movie. Let's listen to how he handles it. Robert runs up to the cinema entrance. Lisa is standing there checking her phone. She looks annoyed. Robert says, "Lisa, I am so sorry I'm late." Lisa looks at her watch. She says, "Robert, the movie started 20 minutes ago. We missed the previews and the first scene." Robert tries to explain. He says, I know. There was a huge accident on the highway, and traffic was stopped for miles. I should have left earlier. I feel really bad." Lisa sighs. She says, "Well, we can still go in, but we missed the beginning." Robert says, "Let me make it up to you. Dinner is on me after the movie. I promise I will be on time next time." Robert used a very common phrase. Traffic was stopped. It is a valid reason, but notice that he also admitted his fault. He said, I should have left earlier. This shows maturity. He didn't just blame the traffic, he blamed his planning. He also used the phrase, dinner is on me. This means he will pay for dinner. This is a classic way to apologize for a social inconvenience. It's on me is a friendly way to say, I will pay. You might hear this in a bar, too. I spilled your drink. The next one is on me. If Robert was late for a business meeting, the language would change. He wouldn't say, dinner is on me. He would say, I apologize for the delay. I will quickly catch up on what I missed so we don't waste any more time. The context always dictates the tone of the apology. I want to talk now about the word excuse me. This is a powerful little phrase. It can be used in two very different ways. First, it can be used to get someone's attention. Excuse me, can you tell me where the bathroom is? Second, it can be used to apologize for a small mistake. Excuse me if you bump into someone. But third, and very importantly, it can be used to express disbelief or offense. If someone insults you, you might say, excuse me, with a rise in intonation. This means, did you really just say that? It is a polite way to start a conflict or defense. Let's hear an example of this third usage. Imagine a character named Greg. Greg is at a store returning a shirt. The clerk says, you cannot return this. You wore it already. Greg knows he did not wear it. He says, excuse me, I bought this yesterday, and the tags are still on it. Are you saying I am lying? Here, excuse me, is a signal that he is offended. It is the first step in a strong complaint. The tone of your voice changes the meaning completely. A falling tone, excuse me, is polite. A rising, sharp tone, excuse me, is a challenge. Listening for tone is a huge part of B1 listening practice. You have to hear not just the words, but the feeling behind them. Is the person happy, sad, angry, sarcastic? Sarcasm is very hard in a second language. Sarcasm is when you say the opposite of what you mean. For example, if a waiter drops a tray of glasses and makes a huge crash, a sarcastic person might say, nice job. They don't mean he did a nice job. They mean he did a terrible job. We use sarcasm often in complaints. Great, another delay. Just what I needed. This means, I hate this delay. Be careful with sarcasm. It can sound rude. Let's do a longer, more complex dialogue now. This one will test your understanding of tone and flow. We are going to listen to a phone call between a tenant, Mrs. Davis, and her landlord, Mr. Peterson. There is a leak in the ceiling. It has been leaking for 3 days. Mrs. Davis is not happy with the landlord's response time. The phone rings. Mr. Peterson answers. Hello? Mrs. Davis speaks first. Her voice is tight. Mr. Peterson, this is Mrs. Davis, in apartment 2B. I am calling about the leak in my bathroom ceiling. Mr. Peterson sighs. He says, yes, Mrs. Davis. I haven't forgotten. I'm trying to find a plumber. Mrs. Davis interrupts. She says, Mr. Peterson, it has been 3 days. The water stain is getting bigger, and now the light fixture is wet. This is dangerous. I have water dripping onto the floor every time I take a shower downstairs. It is simply not sanitary. Mr. Peterson sounds annoyed. He says, Mrs. Davis, these things take time. I can't just snap my fingers and make a plumber appear. Mrs. Davis changes her tone. She becomes firmer. She says, I understand that. However, this is a safety hazard. If the light fixture falls, or if there is electrical damage, I will have to contact the city housing authority. I cannot live like this. I need a contractor here by tomorrow. Mr. Peterson realizes she is serious. He pauses. He says, Okay, I understand. I will call an emergency plumber today. They will be there by 5 p.m. Is that acceptable? Mrs. Davis softens a bit. Yes, 5 p.m. is acceptable. Thank you for handling this. This conversation showed a negotiation. Mrs. Davis started by stating the problem. The landlord was dismissive, trying to make it seem like a small thing. Mrs. Davis didn't accept that. She escalated the complaint. She used specific keywords: safety hazard, dangerous, not sanitary. These are words that landlords are afraid of because they imply legal trouble. She also mentioned a consequence: contact the city housing authority. This is the ultimate threat in a landlord-tenant dispute. She got what she wanted by being firm and knowledgeable, not by screaming. This is a good lesson for all of us. When you complain, if the first response is not good enough, don't give up. Use different arguments. Use facts. Use potential consequences. But always remain professional. If Mrs. Davis had started screaming, Mr. Peterson might have hung up on her. She stayed calm but serious. We have one more detailed scenario to go through today. This one is about a misunderstanding. Sometimes complaints happen because people simply misunderstand each other. This is very common when learning a new language. You might think someone was rude, but maybe they just used the wrong word. Or maybe you were rude without knowing it. Our story takes place in a coffee shop. A customer named Oliver orders a coffee. The barista, a young woman named Jenny, makes a mistake, but it leads to a confusing conversation. Oliver steps up to the counter. He says, "Hi, can I have a large black coffee, please?" Jenny nods. She says, "Sure, that will be $3. Oliver pays. He steps aside to wait. A minute later, Jenny hands him a cup. Oliver takes a sip and immediately spits it back into the cup. He says, "Excuse me, this has milk and sugar in it. I asked for black." Jenny looks confused. She says, "No, you said a large latte." Oliver frowns. He says, "I did not. I said a large black coffee. Why would I want milk?" Jenny starts to get defensive. She says, "I heard you say latte. I made what you ordered." Now, there is a conflict. Oliver thinks she is lying or incompetent. Jenny thinks she is right, and Oliver is changing his story. Oliver takes a deep breath. He realizes getting angry won't fix the coffee. He says, "Look, maybe there was a misunderstanding. The shop is noisy, but I really can't drink this. I am lactose intolerant. I need a black coffee." Jenny hears this, and her face changes. She says, "Oh, you are lactose intolerant? I am so sorry. I thought you said latte. Latte sounds like black, if you mumble a bit. I apologize. Let me make you a fresh black coffee right away. On the house." Oliver smiles. "Thank you. I appreciate that. It was probably just the noise." Oliver saved this situation. Instead of insisting, "You are wrong," he used the phrase, "Maybe there was a misunderstanding." This gives Jenny a way to save face. He also gave a reason why the mistake mattered. He was lactose intolerant. This made the error more serious than just a taste preference, which motivated Jenny to fix it quickly. Jenny accepted the out. She admitted she might have heard it wrong because of the noise. This is a face-saving apology. She didn't fully admit she was wrong, but she admitted the error happened. Offering the free coffee on the house sealed the deal. This story highlights why listening is so important. As English learners, You might be Oliver, trying to order correctly. Or you might be Jenny, trying to understand a foreign accent or a quiet voice. Misunderstandings happen. The key is how you fix them. The phrase "on the house" is another great idiom for you. It means the business pays for it. It is a gift from the establishment. Is a gift from the establishment. Welcome back to the second part of our deep dive into complaints and apologies. I am Alex, and I am so glad you decided to stay with me. We covered a lot of ground in the first section, but there are still so many real-life situations we need to explore. If you thought the restaurant and the lost luggage were tricky, just wait. Real life is full of misunderstandings, mistakes, and difficult conversations. Today, we are going to push your listening skills even further. We will look at what happens when an apology isn't enough, how to deal with mistakes in a professional presentation, and how to handle complaints about things that are out of your control. So, take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's jump right back into the world of real English communication. Let's start with a very challenging situation. Imagine you are at work, and you have made a mistake. But this isn't just a small mistake like being 5 minutes late. This is a mistake that affects the whole company. Our character for this story is a man named Marcus. Marcus works in a marketing agency. He was responsible for sending out a promotional email to 10,000 customers. But he made a typo in the discount code. Instead of giving customers 50% off, the code didn't work at all. Now, the company is receiving hundreds of angry emails. Marcus has to apologize to his boss, a woman named Elena. This is a high-pressure situation. Listen to how Marcus takes responsibility. Marcus knocks on Elena's office door. His hands are shaking a little. He knows this is bad. Elena looks up from her computer screen. She looks very serious. She says, "Come in, Marcus. I was just looking at the customer service inbox. It seems we have a problem with the summer promotion." Marcus walks in and sits down. He doesn't make excuses. He says, "Elena, I wanted to speak to you before you heard it from anyone else. I made a serious error in the email campaign. I double-checked the text, but I missed the discount code. The code in the email is invalid. It is entirely my fault." Elena takes off her glasses and rubs her eyes. She asks, "How many emails went out?" Marcus replies, "All of them. 10,000. I realized the mistake 20 minutes after sending it, but by then, it was too late to stop." Elena is clearly frustrated. She says, "Marcus, this is a significant oversight. We are going to have a lot of unhappy customers, and it makes us look unprofessional." Marcus nods. He leans forward and says, "I know. I am incredibly sorry for letting the team down. I have already drafted a follow-up apology email to send to the customers with the correct code. I also took the liberty of extending the sale by an extra day to make up for the inconvenience. I am ready to accept any consequences for my mistake, but I wanted to fix it immediately." This was a very professional apology under pressure. Let's break down what Marcus did. He used the phrase, "entirely my fault." In a serious business situation, you cannot blame technology, you cannot blame time, and you cannot blame other people. Taking full ownership is the only way to regain trust. He also used the phrase, "letting the team down." This shows that he understands the impact of his actions on other people, not just himself. It shows empathy. Finally, he came prepared with a solution. He didn't just say sorry, he drafted the fix. This is called being proactive. Elena didn't have to ask him what he was going to do. He told her. Even though Elena was angry, Marcus's response likely saved his job because he handled it like a professional. Now, let's switch gears completely. We are going to move from a high-stakes office environment to a very common, everyday annoyance: public transportation. Buses, trains, and subways are often sources of complaints. But usually, the person you complain to isn't the one who caused the problem. The driver didn't break the bus. The ticket agent didn't schedule the delay. Complaining to these people requires a different approach. You need to be firm, but you also need to be polite, because the person you are talking to is just doing their job. Let's listen to a conversation at a train station. Our character is a woman named Rachel. She is trying to get to a nearby city for a job interview. She has been waiting for an hour. The information board says the train is delayed, but gives no new time. She goes to the ticket window to speak to an agent named David. Listen to how Rachel complains without attacking David personally. Rachel walks up to the window. She tries to smile, even though she is stressed. She says, "Hi there, I hope you can help me. I am trying to get to Oakville for a job interview. My train was supposed to leave an hour ago. The board just says delayed. Do you have any information on when it might arrive?" David, the agent, types on his keyboard. He looks sympathetic. He says, "I am sorry, ma'am. There is a signal failure on the track about 10 miles from here. The trains are stopped until the repair crew fixes it. We don't have an estimated time yet." Rachel feels panic rising. She says, "Oh no, this is really stressful. I really can't miss this interview. Is there a bus connection? Or maybe a different route I can take?" David shakes his head. "No buses available right now. We are just waiting for the all-clear signal." Rachel sighs. She says, "This is incredibly frustrating. I understand it's not your fault, but I am going to lose this opportunity because of this delay. Is there a manager I can speak to about getting a formal note for my employer explaining the situation? I need proof that I tried to be there." Rachel did a great job here. She started with, "I hope you can help me." This treats David as a partner, not an enemy. When he gave her bad news, she expressed her feelings. "This is incredibly frustrating." She didn't scream at him. Then, she made a very smart move. She said, "I understand it's not your fault." This phrase is powerful. It de-escalates the tension. It tells the employee, "I am not angry at you personally. I am angry at the situation." This usually makes the employee want to help you more. Finally, she asked for a specific solution that the agent could actually provide: a formal note. She adapted her request to what was possible in the moment. Let's move on to another scenario. This one is about returning an item. This can be one of the most difficult interactions because it often involves money and store policies. Many students feel nervous returning things in English because they are afraid of being told no. Our story takes place in an electronics store. A man named Steve bought a pair of headphones last week. They broke after 2 days. He is trying to return them, but he lost the receipt. The clerk is a woman named Jessica. Let's hear how Steve handles the objection. Steve walks up to the counter and places the broken headphones down. He says, "Hi, Jessica. I bought these headphones here last Tuesday. Unfortunately, the left ear stopped working yesterday. I would like to return them and get a refund, please." Jessica picks up the headphones and looks at them. She asks, "Do you have the receipt with you?" Steve pats his pockets. He says, I think I threw it away by accident. But I paid with my credit card. Can you look it up? Jessica frowns. She says, I am sorry, sir. Store policy states that we cannot process a refund without a physical receipt. We need it for our accounting system. Steve is annoyed. He says, but it's only been a week. I just want a working pair of headphones. It's clearly a manufacturing defect. It shouldn't break this fast. Jessica stays calm. She is following the rules. She says, I understand your frustration. Without a receipt, I cannot give a cash refund. However, since it is a defective product, I can offer you a store credit for the value of the item. You can use that to buy a new pair or something else. Steve thinks about it. It is not exactly what he wanted, but it is a solution. He says, okay, a store credit is fine. I just want to resolve this. Thank you for finding a solution. This interaction teaches us about negotiation. Steve faced a no. He couldn't get the exact result he wanted, a refund to his card. But he didn't give up. He argued his point by saying, it's clearly a manufacturing defect. Jessica, the clerk, couldn't break the rules, but she offered an alternative. This is called a compromise. A compromise is when both people give up a little bit to reach an agreement. Steve accepted the store credit. In complaints, you have to be flexible. Sometimes you cannot get exactly what you want, but you can get something close. Now, I want to introduce a very subtle but important part of English culture: the softener. When we complain, we often use words to soften the blow. We don't just say, this soup is cold. That sounds too aggressive. We say, I'm afraid this soup is a little bit cold. We add extra words to make it polite. I'm afraid, a little bit, quite, rather, actually. These are your best friends when complaining. Let's practice this concept with a short dialogue about a hotel room. Imagine you check into a hotel room. You requested a non-smoking room, but when you walk in, it smells like smoke. You go back to the receptionist, whose name is Tom. You say, hello, Tom. I just checked into room 304. I'm afraid there is a bit of a problem. I requested a non-smoking room, but this room smells rather strongly of smoke. Notice the softeners. I'm afraid, a bit of a problem. Rather strongly. This sounds very polite. Tom is much more likely to help you than if you said, my room smells bad. Change it. Tom replies, oh, I am terribly sorry about that. Let me check our system. Ah, I see. We had a mix-up. I can move you to a suite on the top floor immediately. It will be quiet and smoke-free. Because you were polite, Tom gave you an upgrade. Being nice often gets you better results. Let's try another scenario involving a misunderstanding between friends. This happens all the time. Friends make plans, and one person forgets. Or one person thinks the plan was at 7, and the other thinks it was at 8. Our characters are two best friends, Chloe and Sam. They were supposed to meet for coffee. Chloe waited for 45 minutes. Sam never showed up. Chloe is hurt and angry. Listen to how they resolve this conflict. Chloe is sitting at a table with a cold cup of coffee in front of her. Her phone buzzes. It is a text from Sam. Where are you? Chloe calls him immediately. Sam answers. He says, Hey, Chloe, I'm at the cafe on Main Street. Where are you? Chloe speaks sharply. She says, Sam, I am at the cafe on Main Street. I have been sitting here for 45 minutes. I am by the window. Sam sounds confused. He says, I don't see you. Wait, are you at the Blue Cup Cafe? Chloe pauses. She says, No, I am at coffee time. We always go to coffee time. Sam groans. He says, "Oh no. Chloe, I thought we said the new place, Blue Cup. I have been waiting here for you too. I am so sorry. I must have mixed up the names." Chloe's anger turns to relief. It was an honest mistake. She says, "I am so sorry too. I just assumed we were going to our usual spot. We really need to communicate better." Sam laughs. He says, "We are a mess. Look, I will come to you. It is only a 10-minute walk, and I will buy you a cake to apologize for the confusion." Chloe smiles. "Deal. See you in 10. This is a great example of a blameless mistake. Both people made an assumption. Both people were wrong. When they realized the mistake, they both apologized. Chloe said, "I just assumed." Sam said, "I must have mixed up the names." In English, it is very polite to admit that you might be wrong even if you are angry. Saying "I assumed" or "I might have heard wrong" shows humility. It diffuses the fight. It turns "you are wrong" into "we made a mistake." This is key for maintaining healthy relationships. We are going to shift now to a slightly more advanced topic: complaining on behalf of someone else. Sometimes you have to speak up for a friend or family member who is too shy or unable to speak. This requires you to be an advocate. Let's imagine you are at a restaurant with your elderly grandmother. She ordered a soup, and it is very salty. She doesn't want to say anything because she doesn't want to be a bother. You decide to speak for her. Let's listen. You catch the waiter's eye. His name is Rick. You say, "Excuse me, Rick. Could you come over here for a second?" Rick walks over. "Is everything okay?" You say, "Actually, my grandmother is finding the soup a little too salty for her taste. She didn't want to say anything, but she can't really eat it. Would it be possible to get her a different starter? Perhaps the salad?" Rick looks at the soup. He says, "I am so sorry. I will take this away immediately. The salad will be no problem, and we won't charge you for the soup." You smile and say, "Thank you very much. I appreciate it." Here, you used a very specific phrase. She is finding the soup a little too salty. You didn't say the soup is bad. You made it about her preference. This is very clever. It is subjective. The restaurant can't argue with her taste buds. It is a polite way to reject food without insulting the chef. Also, notice the phrase, "She didn't want to say anything." This shows that you are being a good grandchild, not just a difficult customer. It creates empathy with the waiter. Let's talk about a very specific type of apology: the non-apology. Have you ever heard someone say, "I'm sorry you feel that way"? This is not a real apology. It is a tricky phrase. It means, "I think I am right, and I think you are being too sensitive." You should be careful not to use this phrase if you want to be sincere. Let's compare a bad apology and a good apology. Situation: you accidentally deleted a coworker's file. Bad apology: "I'm sorry you are upset about the file, but it was an easy mistake to make." This blames the coworker for being upset. Good apology: "I am sorry I deleted the file. It was careless of me. I will recover it from the backup immediately." This takes responsibility. Situation: you arrive late to a party. Bad apology: "I'm sorry I'm late, but the traffic was terrible." This is an excuse, not an apology. Good apology: "I am sorry for keeping you waiting. I should have planned better." This is sincere. When you are listening to English, pay attention to the word "but." If an apology has a "but" in the middle of it, it usually cancels out the apology. "I'm sorry, but you made me angry." This is not taking responsibility. Try to avoid using "but" after you say sorry. Instead, use and. I am sorry, I shouted, and I will try to control my temper. This connects the apology to the solution. Let's move on to a situation involving a landlord again, but this time about noise. This is a very common B1 topic. We talked about the drummer earlier, but what about a neighbor who has a barking dog? You can't reason with a dog. You have to talk to the owner. This requires a lot of tact. Let's listen to a conversation between neighbors, Jenny and Mark. Jenny has a dog named Buster. Buster barks all day while Jenny is at work. Mark works from home and cannot concentrate. Mark knocks on Jenny's door on a Saturday afternoon. Jenny opens the door. She smiles. "Hi, Mark. How are you?" Mark looks tired. He says, "Hi, Jenny. I'm okay, thanks. I was wondering if I could talk to you about Buster." Jenny's face falls a little. She says, "Oh? What happened?" Mark says, "Well, I work from home now, as you know. Over the last few weeks, I've noticed that Buster barks quite a lot during the day. It's pretty consistent, usually from about 9 in the morning until noon. It makes it hard for me to concentrate on my calls." Jenny looks embarrassed. She says, "Oh my gosh, Mark, I had no idea. I leave for work early, and I don't come back until 6. I didn't know he was barking. I am so sorry." Mark accepts her apology, but needs a solution. He says, "I totally understand. You aren't there to hear it. But I work in my living room, and the sound comes right through the walls. Is there anything we can do? Maybe leave the radio on for him? Or take him to a doggy daycare?" Jenny nods. She says, "Absolutely. I will look into a dog walker to come in the middle of the day. That might tire him out. I will also buy him some chew toys to keep him busy. I am really sorry for the disturbance. Thank you for telling me politely." Mark smiles. "Thanks for understanding, Jenny. I appreciate it." This was a textbook example of how to handle a sensitive neighbor issue. Mark was specific. He said, "from 9 until noon." He didn't say, "he barks all the time forever," which might be an exaggeration. Being specific makes your complaint more credible. Jenny was great because she didn't get defensive. She admitted she didn't know. The phrase, "I had no idea," is perfect for situations where you are unaware of a problem. They brainstormed solutions together. This preserves the neighborly relationship. Now, I want to practice some intonation with you. Intonation is the music of the language. It changes the meaning of a sentence completely. Take the sentence, "I didn't say he stole the money." Depending on which word you stress, the meaning changes. If I say, "I didn't say he stole the money," stressing I, it means maybe someone else said it, but not me. If I say, "I didn't say he stole the money," stressing say, it means I might have implied it or wrote it, but I didn't speak it. If I say, "I didn't say he stole the money," stressing he, it means I think someone else stole it. If I say, "I didn't say he stole the money," stressing stole, it means maybe he borrowed it or found it. If I say, "I didn't say he stole the money," stressing money, it means maybe he stole something else, like jewelry. When we complain or apologize, stress is important. If you say, "I am so sorry," it sounds very sincere. If you say, "I am sorry," with a flat voice, it sounds like you don't care. If you say, "This is not acceptable," stressing not, it sounds strong and firm. If you say, "This is not acceptable," pausing, it sounds like you are unsure or weak. When you listen to the dialogues in this video, try to copy the way I speak. Mimicking the intonation is one of the fastest ways to sound more fluent. Let's listen to one final detailed story. This story combines many of the elements we have learned. It involves a mistake, a complaint, an apology, and a difficult resolution. The setting is a car rental agency. The main character is a woman named Sandra. She booked a car online for her family vacation. When she arrives, the company doesn't have the car she booked. This is a situation called overbooking. It happens often in travel. Sandra stands at the counter. The agent is a young man named Kyle. Kyle is typing. He says, "Okay, Miss Sandra, I have your reservation here. A mid-size SUV for 5 days." Sandra nods. "Yes, that is correct. We need the space for our luggage." Kyle frowns. He says, "I see. We have a slight problem. We are out of SUVs right now. The previous customers returned late. The only car we have available is a compact sedan." Sandra is shocked. She says, "Excuse me? I booked this car 3 months ago. I have a confirmation email right here. We have 4 large suitcases and 3 kids. A sedan will not fit us. This is ridiculous." Kyle looks nervous. He says, "I apologize, ma'am. It is our busy season. I can give you the sedan at a 50% discount?" Sandra shakes her head firmly. She says, "Kyle, a discount doesn't help me if my luggage doesn't fit. I need a solution that works. Do you have a partner location nearby? Can you upgrade me to a luxury SUV for the same price? I need you to find a car that fits my family," Kyle thinks. He says, "Let me call the downtown branch." He picks up the phone. After a minute, he hangs up. "Good news. The downtown branch has 1 SUV left. It is a larger model. I can have it brought here for you in 1 hour. And because of the mistake, we will waive the rental fee for the first 2 days." Sandra takes a deep breath. She says, "Okay, that sounds like a fair resolution. I will wait for the car. Thank you for fixing this." Kyle says, "Thank you for your patience, Miss Sandra. I apologize again for the stress." In this story, Sandra was initially very angry. She used the word ridiculous. That is a strong word for a complaint. But she didn't just yell. She rejected the first offer, the discount on the small car, because it didn't solve her problem. She proposed her own solutions. "Do you have a partner location? Can you upgrade me?" She guided the agent to a better answer. This is called negotiation. When you complain, don't just accept the first no or the first bad offer. If the solution doesn't fix your problem, you have the right to ask for something better. We have covered so much today. We have traveled from the office of a marketing manager to a train station, a hotel, a neighbor's front porch, and a car rental agency. We have heard apologies that were sincere and apologies that were not. We have heard complaints that were polite and complaints that were firm. The goal of this long session was to immerse you in the rhythm of these conversations. Before we finish, I want to give you a small homework assignment. I want you to think of a time when you were dissatisfied with the service. Maybe it was a cold meal, a delayed bus, or a rude receptionist. I want you to write down how you would complain about it in English. Use the structure we practiced. 1. State the problem clearly. 2. Express your feeling. I am frustrated. I am disappointed. 3. Propose a solution. And then, write the response. How would the other person apologize? Would they offer a refund, an exchange, or just a simple, "I'm sorry"? Writing these dialogues helps your brain organize the vocabulary. It makes the connection between the thought and the word stronger. Remember, listening is the foundation of fluency. The more you listen to natural conversations like the ones we shared today, the more confident you will become. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, Alex, here at English in Fluency. I know this was a marathon session, but I truly believe that deep practice is the best way to learn. Don't forget to check the description for any resources, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Keep practicing your complaints and your apologies. They are a necessary part of life, and now you have the tools to handle them with confidence and grace. I will see you in the next video. Until then, keep listening, keep speaking, and keep learning. Goodbye, everyone.